Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'll mention a few things about Mayapur also before I start about Moscow. I didn't have the fortune of coming to India in the early 70s like Shruti Kirti and the other devotees had. I was in Canada and America at that time. But Prabhupada, even before he had come to Mayapur, just after he had established the ISKCON temples in Canada and America, Prabhupada had on his mind the desire to buy land in Mayapur. So, and even at that time, he had visualized that there would be a big temple here. So in 1971, even when ISKCON didn't have any presence here, in 1972, Prabhupada set up a trust called Mayapur Trust. And the purpose of the trust was that when deities do get established here and in Vrindavan, and if there's ever a problem, then that trust would take care of the maintenance of the deities. So we can see Prabhupada's great vision. He had not even purchased the land in Mayapur, but he had already made all plans for the welfare, for the protection of the deities in the long run. Then I first came to Mayapur in 1973 from America, and I met Prabhupada over here. At that time we had a trouble brewing in New York, so we had come to discuss that. But I did ask Prabhupada one question, and I asked Prabhupada, will everyone in ISKCON go back to Godhead? Because the common thinking was that everyone, once you're initiated in ISKCON, you go back to Godhead. Prabhupada told me here in Mayapur, no, everyone will not go to Godhead. If you follow the spiritual master and Kṛṣṇa rigidly, then you can hope to go back to Godhead. But not if you don't follow the spiritual standards strictly. One thing is, I heard Loknath Swami describing to you all earlier about the first festival that we had in Mayapur. I remember hearing from Gurudas that in the early days, after the first festival was established, Prabhupada told Gurudas that go and bring the Prime Minister to the Mayapur festival. And he said, if you go and bring Indira Gandhi to come and attend the Mayapur festival, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur will take you back to Godhead. So I was thinking that for our next year's festival, we should plan on getting one of these dignitaries here so they can come and appreciate the wonderful work that Prabhupada has done. So I came to India as JBC in March 75, and when we came here to Mayapur, Prabhupada had a great desire to have a university here in Mayapur. And he wanted that university here to be affiliated with Calcutta University. So Prabhupada sent Rabindra Swarup and myself to Calcutta for 3 days, and we were meeting different officials at Calcutta University to try and see if we could get a university started over here with affiliation to Calcutta. But at that time, Calcutta was under heavy communist rule. It still is. And it wasn't so easy for us to realize that. There were a lot of obstacles. Then Prabhupada also wanted an airport here in Mayapur. You all know that we are making plans to build a big temple here in Mayapur. And one of the big bottlenecks is to bringing important people to Mayapur is a rough road. The road is so bad. So Prabhupada knew all this, and he wanted an airport in Mayapur so that the planes could come straight from Calcutta to Mayapur. So this is another instruction that Prabhupada gave, and we should work to realize. Then the GBC meetings started here in Mayapur in 73, and I had the fortune of attending the first meeting in 75. So at that time, we didn't have any GBC meeting rooms or something. I remember the GBC meetings were conducted on the terrace of the Lotus building. And then every evening, after passing all the resolutions, we would go to Prabhupada and read the different resolutions out to him. And then he would give us his input. And in 1976, we had some better facilities for our meeting. And then in the evening, we would go and sit in Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada's quarters in 76 consisted of 2 rooms, a front room where he gave darshan, and the inside was a bedroom. So I remember in 76, we would go and sit in his bedroom, and 76 and even 77, and read out all the resolutions, and then he would give us his input. So Hari Suri Prabhu had mentioned that we're going to be showing the Mayapur, the Moscow presentation. So, and Prabhupada had instructed me here in Mayapur to go to Russia in May 76. The background is as follows. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust in Bombay had received a letter of inquiry from an international Soviet agency for importing books. The name of the agency was Mezduna Rodnaga Kniga. Kniga means books in Russian, and Mezduna Rodnaga means international. So that was the international agency in charge of importing books into the former Soviet Union. And they had written to us out of the blue, please send us your catalog for books on world. So I got this card and I brought it to the GBTC meetings in Mayapur in March 76. And Prabhupada was so happy that the Soviet government agencies were asking us for books, information on his books. So one fine morning, it was about 6:15 in the morning, he had just called in Gopal Krishna Maharaj. Gopal Krishna Maharaj at that time was the leader of the Radha Damodar party, which was a very successful book distribution party in America. But there were some controversies, and in 76 there was a big discussion. So Prabhupada gave him a very challenging assignment. Prabhupada told him, Tamal, you go to China. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj had just finished paying his respects and leaving the room, and then he sent for me. And he told me, Gopal, you go to the former Soviet Union. I think he said go to Moscow. So the background was our getting a letter of inquiry from the Russian government. And as Hari Suri Prabhu said, at that time, the Soviet Union was very friendly with India. You know, they were considered to be countries in the same bloc. And they were politically very closely aligned. And the Soviet Union was an enemy of the West and America especially. So Prabhupada was very keen that we establish a preaching over there. And you will hear in the presentation how Prabhupada went to America, to the former Soviet Union in 1971. He was invited by the late Dr. 𝐾𝐲𝐞𝐞. We had the opportunity later on of having regular contacts with Dr. 𝐾𝐲𝐞𝐞. And in late 80s, he told me that I took such a big risk in inviting your Swamiji here. Because at that time it was strict Soviet Union communism with no faith in religion or philosophy. And we have a great debt to Dr. 𝐾𝐲𝐞𝐞 because it was he who sent Prabhupada an invitation that enabled Prabhupada to get a visa to go to the former Soviet Union. And at that time, when this was in 89 or 90, I believe, he had come to we had just obtained a building in Vegavaya at that time. So I invited Dr. 𝐾𝐲𝐞𝐞 for lunch. So he had, at that time in the former Soviet Union, we had, I don't know, X number of temples, not as many as we have now. And he said, the late 𝐾𝐲𝐞𝐞 said, I never thought that Swamiji's movement would become so big in my country. At that time, it was just a fraction of what it is now. So Prabhupada was a great visionary. As I said, even before the first piece of plot was obtained in Mayapur, he had already made a provision establishing the Mayapur Vrindavan Trust so that if anything ever happened to the deities would be protected. Prabhupada had full faith that Thakur Bhaktivinoda's prediction that one day people from the whole world would come and chant and dance would come true. So this all come true, and you're going to be hearing more and more of Prabhupada Katha over the next 4 days. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.